seats with me, and then we'll do that.
Oh, okay.
It won't be.
That was my good side too.
Well, we can do that. All right, you're on. Okay, we're back here live from the RDV Sportsplex Media Day 2008. David Steele talking with Magic players and coaches and other celebrities. And now we're joined by Adonal Foyle, who's back with the Magic for his second year, a longtime NBA veteran out of Colgate University. A guy with a lot of things going on off the basketball court. I'm sure during this political season, Adonal is involved in a number of things. Maybe we'll get into a little of that.
There you go.
But Adonal, it's great to have you back with the basketball team. First of all, you're such a delightful guy, such a professional. Your presence, both on and off the court, is very important to the team. What do you see as your role, both not just on the court? I know that your responsibilities to back up Dwight and such, but well beyond that, what's your role with this group of individuals?
Well, I think that for me, that I've always find that leading by example is the best thing you can do in any group, and just being able to hold the guys them accountable, not just what they do on the court, but also off the court, and make sure that they're focusing on the right thing. I think that for me and Tony and the guys that are the older guys is to really keep a sense of calm among the guys then, but also a sense of focus and a sense of leadership. And so I think I'll be able to draw hopefully in some of those things that I've experienced in the past and some of the players that I've played with, and being able to be as a steady influence for a lot of the guys.
As broadcasters, we use terms, I think, maybe a little too loosely, but we've been calling this team a young team, I think, for a few years. This is not a young team. I mean, Dwight Howard is still a young guy, but this is his fifth year in the league. It's Jameer Nelson's fifth year in the league. Tony Battie is back as a veteran. You're a veteran. Rashard Lewis, Hedo Turkle, who's been around a long time. This team has a lot of experience, which should serve it well this season, don't you think?
I think so, and I think that your point is right. Is that we have to expect more from ourselves now. I mean, it's the banner of being youthful and having the youthful and not having as much experience is not really true. I mean, I think that we're a pretty savvy team. We've been there. We've played great last year, but guys have been in the league many years. I think it's upon us to come out and really work hard and not give ourselves any breaks or excuses to not be great this year.
That's a big thing with Stan Van Gundy, isn't it? He does not like to hear excuses about anything.
No, and I think
you can understand that.
I could definitely understand that, because I think when you look at the talent pool in this team and you look at what these guys have been able to do in the past, I mean, we know how to do it. It's a question now of going out and do it, and it's not good anymore to have the excuse of, well, we're only a young team. No, we're a very good team. We're a veteran team. We have to go out and get the job done, and there's no excuse not to do that.
It usually comes down, though, Adonal, as you know, to talent. I mean, you can be experienced, and those things go a long way, and you can be together chemistry-wise, but you got to have great talent. Does this team have all of those elements? Is there enough talent on this ball club to challenge for a championship this year?
I think that this team has a whole lot of talent than most of the teams in the league. We have a dominant low-post player that can change the game at any level, offensively or defensively. We have a guy in Rashard Lewis who can shoot the ball out in the perimeter. He can go down in the post and post up anybody and has an advantage. You have Turk, who is probably one of the premier playmaker in the league, can create for himself and can create for everybody. Jameer has been a steady hand for us. We have shooters galore on this team. So, I mean, I think we have the elements last year. And I think, you add a person like Mikhail Petrus who can come in and play really good defense, which is something I thought we lacked a little bit out in the perimeter last year. He can come in and flatly turn it on defensively. He can average 2-3 blocks a game, I believe. So I think, we have the elements. We have the talent. We now have to go out and execute.
Since you mentioned Petrus, I was going to ask you about him. You know more about him than anybody on this team. I mean, Otis knows him from his days in Golden State, but you played with the guy for many years, I guess 3 or 4 years at least. So tell us what we can expect from Mikhail Petrus. What kind of player? You mentioned his defensive skills, but how do you think knowing him, his personality, his game, how does he fit in with this team?
I think he fits really well with this team, because I think one of the things that he does very well, he can shoot the ball in the deep corner. He can run the floor with the best of them. When we, my first year in the league, we used to put him on guards to guard guards coming up the floor. He used to create nightmarish situation for guards. So he can pair out in the perimeter. He can block shot. He can rebound. He can do just about everything in the floor. So I think he's going to be a good addition because I think one of the things that coach is going to like is his intensity defensively. When he turns it on, he can really turn it on, and he can drive to the basket with reckless abandonment. He can finish strong at the rim. I like his game, and I think it's a good complement for our team.
Magic fans should not be concerned that he sort of fell out of favor with Don Nelson at Golden State last year.
A lot of people fell out of favor with Don Nelson last year. I've been there. So, that could be a good thing. I mean, Don Nelson is a great coach, but, I mean, he has a personality. He has a very distinct personality, and it's either you could mash with that or you don't. And, I think sometimes a change is good, and I think a change would be good for Mikhail.
All right. We don't want to keep you too much longer, but Democracy Matters, your political organization that you formed to involve young people in the voting process. Are you geared up right now? Are you in the middle of that?
We have about 80 campuses across the United States, 80 campuses, and what we really just try to do is to get our campus has been doing a lot of voter registration and just having parties where they debate the candidates' perspective and point of view. It's trying to teach kids to have a lifelong affection for politics. I mean, we always think of politics as every 4 years, and we like to think of politics as something that is more a participatory democracy where you have to be involved on a daily basis, you have to pay attention, and that's what we try to pass on to the kids, because if you don't learn these kind of things, you're never going to be politically engaged, and you need to be politically engaged in a democracy.
There's a lot of talk about how much the youth vote will be a factor in this presidential election. Do you see things changing nationally? It's been a problem to get young people out to vote, but do you think that's changing?
Yeah, if you look at the early part of this nomination process, young people have voted for Barack in record number. He's been able to bring a lot of people to the vote, and I think they've showed increase in voting among young people. And I think if it holds steady, it will continue in the general election.
All right, we're a nonpartisan organization here, of course, but let me ask you about how you became so interested in politics. A guy that you grew up on a tiny island of Kanawha, about 3.5 miles wide and 2.5 miles long, and I mean, you come to college in the United States to play at Colgate, but where does this interest in the political realm come from?
If you travel to the Caribbean and you go into a taxi cab, from the taxi driver to the person walking in the field, they will have a very great appreciation for politics. And I think when you're from a small island, when things happen so quickly and it affects you, you learn very early that you have to be engaged. I grew up on an island of about 500-600 people, and we knew like the 2 people who didn't go to the polls because they were sick. We would send a donkey for them and take them to the polls. That's how I grew up. That was the kind of personal politics I grew up with.
And politicians could truly impact the quality of your life.
Absolutely. I mean, politician knows most of the constituency by name because the islands are so small. They'll come in the garden where the people are working and they'll walk next to them and talk about their policies. That's how I grew up in politics. It's always been personal. And what I learned is that, if you're not aware of politics in a country that is that small, it hits you the next day. It doesn't wait for like 6 months, a year, or 3 years to be affected. It hits you the next day. If a law is passed and you don't know what it is, you're going to know the next day when you're standing in your field or something like that. So I think when you grow up with that kind of personal politics, you have no choice to bring it with you, because it's what people live most of their life wanting is to be engaged with a politician.
In your future, are you thinking about a political career beyond basketball? A lot of years after you finish playing, you got to do something.
I really haven't thought of it. I've always thought that my job was to bring democracy back to young people. And my pet peeve has been the proliferation of money in politics. And when you look at this election, it's going to cost $1 billion, and it has been increasing for the last 50 plus years. So I mean, to me, is that it really distorts the integrity of our democracy when it's that expensive to run for office in this country, and that's my pet peeve. But
so you
20 years down the line, I don't know. Maybe when the hair is totally gone, it may be a good time to go into politics.